All right, guys, let me know if the audio is good, and we will jump right into this. I haven't done this in a while, haven't uploaded in a while, but we will talk about all that this evening. Oh, man, what the heck is that? What in the world? I just got this weird pop up on my computer. Have not seen that one before. That's weird. So, for those of you that have not watched the derecho video, that was actually my last video, I think it was, right? I think. Damage, yeah, that was 6 days ago. Feels like that was well over a week ago, but derecho was, I would say, about a month ago? 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago? And really, we only had one field that was impacted. Now, well, to a point where we're going to see a measurable yield loss. To what type of measure, like as far as what extent, it's so hard to tell at this point. We won't even know till this fall. Which, speaking of that, we've got beans that are pushing 2 weeks yet. That would be ready roughly, probably within, I would say, no more than 14 days, really. So, and those were actually not the first beans we planted. The first beans we planted were the 33A24s under the big pivot, planted April 24th. And I'll be talking about those tonight. And the beans that are actually just about ready are the 25A04s that were planted on May 3rd, which doesn't surprise me because, I mean, those are a 2.5 versus a 3.3. So, it does make sense that those beans are pretty much almost ready to go. And therefore, also the drought has sped things up quite a bit because we've been pretty much a drought for the past month. The derecho, when that came through, we only got a tenth out of that. I know a lot of you guys out west got severely impacted by that. And I believe quite a few guys I talked to have told me that they got a nice measurable rain out of that, though, which we did not. We just got a tenth. So, yeah, we've been in pretty much of a drought for quite some time now, just going on about a month now. And we've been irrigating like crazy. And actually, we just got all the pivots shut off today. And we're going to be calling it quits at this point. I mean, like I said, or at least like what the title says, harvest is 2 weeks out. And pretty much we're pulling the plug at this point on irrigation because at this point there is no need based on crop conditions, how far along crops are at this point. We do not need to be irrigating anymore. So we did our last turn on beans, on the irrigated beans, about 3 days ago. Those have filled out great. Those Pioneer 33A24s. Those are the ones that we put potash and micros on, side dressing. So those will be very interesting to see. The 30-inch row beans, so that's a thing also what we've noticed, comparing the drilled to the 30-inch row beans over on Marx's. Those 25A04s that are turning are the drilled beans. The 30-inch row beans are just hinting at turning. I will post some pictures on Instagram possibly tomorrow. Tomorrow I got to run down to Wabash and film some tomato harvest for Pickrite. Pickrite actually hired me to do some filming for them. So I got to go film a guy, farm, that's based out of the Couts, La Crosse area. I was actually supposed to film him a couple days ago, but I know one of the guys that is part of that farm, and talked with him, and he said, hold off a few days if they're wanting you to film, because they got a new harvester and these guys down in Wabash got a new harvester. So Pickright's just wanted to put a promo video together and have me edit it and essentially give it back to them after I get done editing it. And they will upload that onto their YouTube channel and use that for promotion. And so I'm holding off for a couple of weeks because the field that those guys are in, they said the yield isn't as great as what they would like to see to be in a promo video, at least for their standards. Pickright doesn't care as long as they get the footage. So they've already got GoPro footage, so I don't have to worry about that. All I have to do is just show up with the drone and do my thing. So I'm going to run down there to Wabash and do that tomorrow. And then Tuesday, I got to run up to Kalamazoo, not in Kalamazoo. It's just on the outskirts on the north side, Alamo, Michigan. If any of you guys are in that area, you guys might be familiar with that. Lakeshore Ag, which is the company that we deal with on fertilizer through our soil agronomists, have hired me to film potato harvesting up there, which I've only seen potato harvesting done in videos. I've never seen it done in person, so this is going to be really, really cool to be able to do GoPro and drone footage. So I'm going to talk to them, and I'm pretty sure they're going to let me, because that was kind of the hint of what I've heard, that they're going to allow me to do this, not only for since I'm making them a promo video to let them use for promotion on their YouTube to promote Lakeshore Ag, because not hardly a lot of people know about Lakeshore Ag unless you deal with them. So I'm actually going to more than likely have a video of potato harvesting on this channel. So I think that will be not only really cool for myself to see, but I think most of you guys are going to be really excited to see something like that on the channel. So that explains like the pickle harvest videos on here, the videos that I don't really discuss a lot, because those are videos that I've done for neighbors and stuff like that before this channel was actually dedicated to doing what I'm doing with it now, the vlogging on the farm and stuff. I kept those on there just because it's pretty interesting to see, and not only because also because not a lot of people know how that stuff is done, harvesting cucumbers or pickles, however you want to prefer to call them. We just prefer to say pickles up here as far as when they're harvesting them. I know there's a politically correct term, but whatever. So same with the tomato harvesting. Tomato harvesting is pretty common around here, so it's not something that's crazy cool to watch anymore, but it's still cool to film. So that's why I won't be really doing a video the first part of this week, and explaining why I haven't been really doing videos is because we've been working in the and just have not had a good video really to put together for you guys on that, just because it's not too exciting. Going forward, though, there's going to be a lot of excitement revolving around my purchase of a skid steer. So that will be fun to make videos with for in the woods, because eventually we will be putting the grapple that we use on the loader that Dad built about 15 years ago, and we're going to get an adapter plate to utilize the John Deere Classic attachments on the skid steer. So that will be what we'll be seeing quite a bit of videos on that. So that was done. I purchased that on an online auction, and I was actually watching this online auction for quite some time, and I did not think I was going to bid on the skid steer till I did some looking into this, because all I was looking at, I just wanted to see what the combines go for, because it's just always cool to see what guys are going to pay for a S780 or a S790, because majority of those were 2016 or newer combines. So it's just interesting to see what guys were willing to go to, and stuff I felt on the 2016 and newer side brought tremendously less, obviously, than what it's actually valued at, because all of that stuff had anywhere between 300 hours to 1,500 hours. So it brought tremendously less than what it's actually valued at on a dealer's lot, but anywhere between like a 2012 and a 2014 or 15 brought a really, really good deal, I felt, or just about. Certain ones brought what I felt they were valued at least from what I've done research on and seen on combine sales and stuff. Which, I mean, Dad and I were pretty surprised on some of the what stuff brought on there. But I was watching this skid steer a couple days before the auction ended. I'm like, if that goes for this price, I would jump on that. I know it's probably not going to go for a crazy good deal, just because of the hours that's on it. It's got 15, well, at this point, it's got 1520 on it, but it had 1508 on it. Tracks are all right. They'll last. It's hard to tell on how long the tracks will last. Like I said, we're pretty new. Well, I haven't said it, but we've never had a skid steer, let alone a track skid steer. So I'm not entirely sure how long these tracks are going to last. But I would imagine within the next year, I'm going to have to be looking at probably doing something with them, which isn't too big of a deal to me. It's just like everything else. It's just wear and tear and maintenance. So I'm not afraid of that, really. It's pretty much got everything on it. It's a John Deere 333E. It's a 2016 model. It's, like I said, pretty much has everything on it except the radio. And no DEF on this one. I don't know when they started putting DEF on skid steers. I know combines, it was 15. Tractors, at least for John Deere, it was 13. Skid steers, I want to say it was 17 or 18, I want to say. I think. So yeah, no DEF on this one. And so that'll be really cool. I will be having a video on that. A reveal video on that, I should say, towards the end of this week. And then leading after that video will be a equipment tour video, part 1 and part 2, if I decide to make a 2-part video on that, which I might. Videos are going to be ramping up here towards the end of this week. Just these first couple of days here, I'm not going to be doing anything just because filming and all this and that and editing and wrapping up on the combine. Which that should be done for our side, I should say, done by Tuesday, I would say. We got to have John Deere come out and take a look at the tailing sensor, but after that, it's pretty much ready to go. So that was the Ag Pro inventory reduction auction. I got that skid steer on. I see some of the comments on that. That was the Ag Pro inventory reduction auction. Like I said, it wasn't a crazy good deal. It was a deal, though. I know our salesman from John Deere goes like, well, you could have bought I could have sold you one. Yeah, I know that Green Mark Equipment had a 2019 333G. That one looked really, really nice. $70,000 nice. A little out of my budget, in my opinion. I was just wanting something, if this would go for somewhat of a good deal and if it was in my budget, and which it did. So kind of on the very edge of it, but it was in it. So that's why I jumped on it. And so far I've run it. Dad hasn't even attempted to run it yet. I don't know why yet, but his thing's the excavator. Now my thing's going to be the skid steer. So that'll be kind of fun. We've got our own 2 little toys to play with now out in the woods. And so mainly brushwork, possibility of putting a mower on it, pallet forks out. I mean, we're going to be using the pallet forks that we have or that we use on the loader. So since we're just using the quick attach bracket that we're going to get for it from MDS, which I think MDS is one of the few companies that actually makes a bracket for that, which we talked with our guy from John Deere, and he said that he checked with 3 companies, ATI, and I can't remember the other 2. Actually, I don't believe he actually told us what the other 2 companies were. They refuse to make a bracket like that to go from a skid steer to John Deere Classic attachments just because of the leverage on it. And I agree and disagree with that scenario. Irregardless, we're still going to go that route. Eventually, I would going down those lines as far as getting a grapple for it, and pallet forks just meant for the skid steer eventually within the next couple of years. Just to make things simple and cheap right now, it's just easy to go buy an adapter plate and use what we got. So that's the skid steer purchase. That is the only purchase, and that was 100% me on that. So I'm not going to be, as far as me goes, or as far as I goes, or I can't even talk right there. As far as I go on making any more future purchases, I'm not going to be making any more for the next few years now. So you guys can't look forward, or aren't going to be looking forward to any new things from me at that point. But eventually, some stuff from the farm will trickle in, so you guys can look forward to that. Not this year. Hopefully someday when the markets decide to turn around a little bit, which they actually have. Those of you that actually farm and that are heavily involved in the industry have known that we've seen quite a bit of a rally here, 25 cents, close to it in some scenarios. I don't know. Guy was asking me the other day on thoughts, and it's like, I don't know, weather rally partially, trade rally partially. I don't know. Is it time in stuff? I don't know. So, how's the crops? For the most part, dry, burning up. Anything that's irrigated looks good. Like I said, 2 weeks nervous just because of this drought. As far as yields go, it's going to be all over the place because it all depends on stage of the crop of basically when it got impacted the most by the drought. So as far as test weight goes, test weight's going to be down, obviously, in corn just because it pretty much cannibalized itself and put everything it had out of the stock into the ear. So that's one thing we're going to be really watching out for. Disease pressure overall that we've seen on fields that have not even been hit with fungicide, and the couple we didn't even hit with fungicide have been like next to zero. We've seen a little bit of great leaf spot, nothing really to be concerned about. Even in the fields that we sprayed fungicide in, we got a little bit of great leaf spot in it, which could have just been all on timing there. But as far as tar spot goes, there has been, our Pioneer agronomist has been posting that he's found tar spot in our area a couple of times. We haven't seen it in any of our fields that we have found. So I guess that's good. Maybe we're just not looking in the right spot in the field. Who knows? But as far as what we've seen in walking all of our fields, we have not seen it. Disease pressure in beans has been like next to zero. We didn't spray beans this year for fungicide, which I'm kind of glad we didn't at this point, just because considering there's no reason to spray them at this point also. So, or up to this point looking at it. So that's good depending on how you look at it. So yes, there's a stay green aspect with fungicide that you can get in soybeans as well, but that could be something that we'll experiment on maybe next year, depending on how these 30-inch row beans yield, which they're looking really good. They filled out really well. We did our last turn, like I said, a few days ago on the big irrigator field, our only irrigated soybean field this year. And I don't know, it's going to be really hard to tell until the combine rolls through and we see if it pays one to do what we did as far as starter and in-furrow program goes, and the foliar programs that we tried out. We've got two different programs, one that we use just Axel BMZ on from Helena, and one where we use the Premier Foliar from Logan Ag on. In my opinion, just from the tissue tests, the Premier Foliar seemed to do a little bit better. Well, not a little bit. It seemed like quite a bit better of a job than the Axel BMZ. Partially because of the micronutrients it's attacking. It's attacking more than just boron, manganese, and zinc, versus what the BMZ is just attacking. So I don't know. It's going to be hard to tell right now. I'm pretty excited about it. I can't wait to see how the potash pays off. I kind of didn't finish on the potash on those 30-inch dryland beans. The 30-inch dryland beans are not turning yet on those 25 AO4s. And I think that's partially due to, since they were planted literally the same day, basically the same ground type. And I have a feeling that could be the potash pushing those beans along more, and pumping more energy into those beans and keeping them alive longer, and versus the drilled beans. So I don't know. That's just my takeaway on it, and that's kind of what Dad's kind of leaning towards at this point too, because we can't really see why they wouldn't be as stressed as what the dryland bean or the drilled beans right across the road. So I don't know. We'll see on that. That's going to be really interesting to compare there. We can't really do a apples to apples comparison there though, because of the in-furrow starter and side dressing that we did on that dryland field. We didn't do any foliar on that one. As far as the Logan foliar, we did put manganese on them though, because that is a religious pass that we do on all of our beans. As far as spraying manganese goes, we do not spray for iron. I know the guys over in Minnesota, kind of South Dakota corridor, Iowa corridor area there, they spray for iron chlorosis. We spray for manganese. It looks exactly the same as theirs, just ours is manganese deficiency and theirs is iron chlorosis. So kind of interesting there, but that's what we spray for. So what moisture do y'all cut your corn at? So we pick our corn. I know that's up for debate all the time on how to say that, but we pick our corn, and moisture we shoot for pulling out of the field. We like to run 22% is pretty high as far as when we're drying, because we only have a 400 bushel dryer, and running at that percent to slow the dryer down will significantly reduce on how much we can get done. So we try and shoot for that 18 to 20% mark. I know a lot of guys don't like to wait for that to dry down to that, but we can. We have picked corn last year at the 22 to 25% mark just because we needed to. And we ended up pushing through that, and it went all right. I wouldn't want to do it again unless we had a bigger dryer and bigger capacity in order to handle wetter corn. So it's not that we can't handle it. It's the fact that it just reduces overall efficiency just due to our bottlenecks as far as wet storage capacity and our drying capacity. And so it's just bottlenecks that eventually we're going to have to address here, especially with having a 12-row corn head. So we've had rain at least once a week for the last month. We've had plenty of water in the last couple of days. We've had around 4 to 5 inches. Now that I wish was happening in our area, but for at least a month now. So plenty of rain in southern Indiana. Crop's looking really great this year. See, weird thing is, you kind of go, Dairyville South seems to look pretty good. Kind of Porter County looks relatively good. They've got a little bit better ground than what Porter County does, though. When we drove out to Washington Courthouse, the Ag Pro dealer where the skid steer was at, crops overall, I hate to say this, but the worst crops on that whole route, we took 421 to 65 to whatever road cuts across to Richmond. I can't even think of that interstate. Blanking out on me. I don't know. But when we cut across from Indy over to Dayton, I want to say I know it's 70 something. I can't even think of it. But when we cut across from Richmond down to Dayton and then down to Dayton to Washington Courthouse, worst crops that we've seen right here at home. So hate to say that, but yeah. So it's reality though. So yeah, thankful for the irrigation we've got though. Just going through the comments here, trying to get up to speed here. Personally, I'm vids still on your channel. It's great to see where you started in your vids and how far you've come. Yeah, I don't plan on deleting anything really. I haven't really deleted, I don't think, any videos on here. I'm going to keep everything as raw or not as raw, but as keep everything on here because there's really no reason for anything. So everything is going to stay on this channel. Now, again, back when this channel was literally named Pilot of the Countryside, back way back, when I was just uploading raw drone footage, I pulled all that raw drone footage because it just no editing and no music. It just wasn't worth keeping on YouTube, and it didn't even need to be on YouTube anymore. So I pulled that, and when I edited that stuff, I put it on here. But I kept those videos on here. And when YouTube, I think, or at least I figured out, or when, I don't know if it was when YouTube did it, or maybe they had it and I just figured out how I could do it, split my channel and make this one the Werner Farms channel. And that's basically when the whole vlogging thing kind of took off there. I split that and I made the Pilot of the Countryside to kind of split my drone business off to kind of keep these separate. That way I could upload neighbors' harvest videos or planting videos and stuff like that. Stuff like, like what I'm doing for Pick Right or Lakeshore Ag. I could upload on there if they want me to put it on that channel, or if they have their own channel, they can use it and put it on their channel. But like the potato harvest video that I'm going to be filming though, more than likely they're going to allow me to use some of the footage that I use. The interviews and such will not be on here. That will be on their channel because I'm compiling all this footage into one promo video for them. But bits and pieces of that I'll use to just make like a highlight video, I guess, or like a video just of potato harvesting in Michigan, just because there's not a lot of that on YouTube to begin with, and plus I just think it's really cool, and also I've never really seen it done in person, so I think this is going to be pretty awesome. So similar concept to tomato harvesting, but different, so it'll be cool. Okay, there's a little bit of an inner conversation going on here in the comments. I kind of had to read over that. Oil-based tracks or greasable? Good question. At this point, don't know yet. To be honest, I haven't even looked at that yet. I haven't really messed with it enough to be able to see anything like that yet. I had I got the operator's manual ordered from Greenmark. I have no idea when that's going to be in. They're going to call me when that comes in. They weren't really sure when that's going to come in yet. So I to be honest, I have no clue. Like I said, we never have had a skid steer before. let alone a track skid steer. So I've heard if they're greasable, definitely keep grease in them, just like what we do with the excavator. But oil base, I'm not entirely sure on that yet. So that's going to be something I'm looking into on. So I don't know. Basis is horrible for harvest this year. Yep. As far as fall bids go, I don't know what basis is for fall. Cash right now, I believe Union as of Friday was 16 under, and that's really the only one I've been watching. Besides Cargill up at Burns Harbor, I believe they're eight or 10. I believe 8 or 10 cents under. Might have been 7, I want to say, but nothing less than that. Got to factor in about 8 cents for trucking there, though, so it's a wash. Yeah, so it's looking ugly, but at least there was a little bit of a rebound there, and hopefully it continues on. So okay, why did it just skip like that? I was just reading through and it just skipped a whole chat there. Yeah, corn gets shelled, not chopped. Why don't you put the 4650 on the card anymore so you could use the 85 on the VT? So the 4650, the reason why we ran the 4650 1 year on the cart, and that was the year after we ended up getting the 9400T, partially, but mostly due to getting a strip till, partially to run on the grain cart, but mostly due to getting a strip till, because we did try pulling a 16-row strip till bar with the 4650. That did not work out good, and that's why we ended up getting a 9400T. We actually, when we ran the cart on the 4650 and we had the cart for a few years, we did not fill the cart full with the extensions on. We only put about 600-700 bushel in there just because of the tongue weight. We were afraid, without reinforcing the drawbar, that we could snap that drawbar with that much weight. If you're putting like 1,000 bushel on there. Now I know some of you guys might act like we're acting stupid on this, but we're just afraid that we could snap it with that much weight. You guys can some of you guys are probably laughing at that comment, but I mean, that's our thought. We only ran about 600-700 bushel on it, and we wouldn't put really any more on it. So that's why we run the 8530 on the cart. We are going to run the 4650 on the VT, though. Now, granted, if we would reinforce it, we could run the 4650 on the cart, no problem. Visibility is less compared to running it with the 8530. And I'm not saying just because it has cameras that I put on the cart. I mean, I could put the monitor in the. I've got an extra touchscreen monitor actually just meant for cab cams. I could throw in the 4650, but visibility as far as where the cab is positioned, height-wise, the 8530 sets higher than the 4650, so you can actually see. It literally almost sets level with the 9400T or where the 9400T sat. So filling trucks, 8530 sets a little bit better. It's like I said, though, as far as cameras go, I mean, I could put the camera monitor in the my old monitor in the 4650 and not have a problem either. So I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's just like I said, we're going to run the VT on the 4650 this fall. So, and that's just to meet our cover crop deadlines, because we're with the NRCS on a cover crop share crop program there. So we just got to make sure we meet our deadlines on seeding, which I believe is November, either November 1st or the middle part of November, I want to say. I just got to go check the contract over there to double check on that. Yeah, Interstate 70. Yeah, that was what it was. So, I have missed this, but are you broadcasting P&Ks? Yeah. So we are basically as far as P&K goes, all that gets broadcasted pre. We're not banding those. We did not band any with the strip till. That's the only thing we did not do when we strip tilled 8 years ago. Seven. We only did anhydrous, and then we did the 1 year. We banded all of our starter instead of running anhydrous and still side dressed anhydrous that summer. We just banded all of our starter and just planted them. That way we didn't have to worry about filling the planter with starter. At that time, I don't think we were running any in-furrow. Yeah, we weren't running any in-furrow then, I don't believe. Well, yeah, we were. We were running in-furrow then. Yeah, because we started running in-furrow either... It was around that time frame, and yeah, I remember now it was during when we were... Yeah, that was the year before, I believe, we started banding starter, I believe, with the strip till. And we only did that 1 year. And I think that was... I want to say that might have been the last year that we actually ran strip till. And the reason why we went away from it is just because of the ridging. And we weren't seeing any benefit to doing any pre-plant anhydrous nor pre-banding our starter. So we did not band any dry, though. I know that was something I wish we kind of would have done. But there again, I'm glad that we kind of went away from it just due to the ridging. I like the concept. I just don't like the ridging. It just ridges the ground. So just for us with the no-till, I understand no-till and strip-till are two different concepts. Not necessarily two different concepts. It's just there's so many different ways you can look about doing this. You can band your cover crops and do, like, say, 30-inch rows or 15-inch row cover crops and band in between and do 30-inch and plant in between those and do 30-inch strip till and then plant over those with, come back in with the planter and plant over those strips in between and do intercrop, essentially cover cropping in between those rows, which that's a neat concept, but I don't know. It's interesting, but just not in our area. It just does not work. I know a few guys have tried or are going to try it. Basically do dry, though, which that'll be interesting to see. It just, for us, it did not work as far as pre-anhydrous and pre-starter. Like I said, we did not do a combination of both. We did that separate. So pre-anhydrous for a few years, did not see a benefit whatsoever versus side dressing. So that's why we've continued with the side dressing. We've been side dressed day one. So when we went away from the side dressing for a few years just to try out the pre and didn't see any benefit, that's why we went back and did the 1 year. I don't think we did it twice, just did the 1 year of banding starter and saw zero benefit to that. Actually almost saw a negative effect to that in some places. So, but dry, that's an idea, but we got to have in order for us to consider even doing something like that, as far as doing dry ourselves, we would have to consider figuring out a way to handle bulk dry on our own, because all that's done through a custom applicator and we don't have to worry about doing any of the handling or anything. Basically, we just give him the spread maps and tell him, okay, this is what you need to be doing. And they get it done, and they do a great job of getting it done. So that's why we have not invested in a spreader of our own. It's an idea, though, that I would like to have someday. But yeah, it's I don't know. Like Paulson said there, I mean, you can reduce as far as broadcasting goes versus banding. I mean, you can reduce your input costs, but I don't know. I just put it this way, I don't think I would ever go back to strip tilling in my lifetime just because of the issues that we had with it. Especially in our sands with the spoon feeding, we just cannot. We just phosphorus, I feel, is okay. That's not an issue. It's just I'm starting to realize it's like, why are we putting our potash out so early? Not necessarily super early. It's all about spoon feeding in our sands. We have anywhere from 3% being very conservative, or well, not conservative. I shouldn't say that. Generous as far as organic matter goes. 0 to 3% is our organic matter. Like I said, 3% is being pretty generous on that. I Our ability to hold nutrients is very minimal. So sulfur is our biggest one, obviously being the most soluble mobile nutrient. Soluble. Can't even think tonight, really. Mobile nutrient in the soil. So, you're talking about potash and everything. Why instead of putting it out in our sands, consider putting it out spoon feeding it throughout the season. I know I've talked to quite a few guys out in Nebraska area, Kansas, actually spoon feed potash and do 2004 similar to what we do. We've done a lot of spoon feeding with the nitrogen. It's something that I wanted to do this year, close to doing it with the potash. We just never took the time to do it. I wanted to put a 2004 blend on the beans. Never took the time to do that just because of the way our applications were set up and our checks were set up. It would not work to do that through the pivot or side dress it just because we were running out of check space. So I don't know. That's why I would not want to do strip till, just because I do not like the idea in our sands of putting out that amount of nutrients up front. Phosphorus, I couldn't care. Phosphorus is okay. That's not a big deal whatsoever. It's just a potash. And if we would still consider using ammonium sulfate instead of gypsum, which I would, after this year, I just want to go to using all gypsum instead of using ammonium sulfate at this point. But say if we were still using ammonium sulfate, I would just consider spoon feeding the sulfur instead of using ammonium sulfate. But really, after this year, I would just completely scrap that idea at that point and just go to using gypsum. And instead of banding and putting out our potash up front, go to spoon feeding potash as well with the nitrogen and setting up a fertility program, not only for corn that we use extensively for spoon feeding, but now that we're learning as far as spoon feeding goes on the beans, start setting something up on spoon feeding beans nutrients. So basically, to summarize all that again, that's why I just don't want to go back to strip till. Basically, that's my whole, not only my whole thing on it, but Dad's whole thing on it as well. Just because we're realizing, in our sands over the course of the past 6-7 years that we've been doing this, as far as spoon feeding goes, we need to be doing more. So, and not just with nitrogen, but with potash, sulfur, boron. Possibly consider using manganese in corn. That's something that we played around with this year. So yeah, that'll be interesting. So Hunter Farms this year, instead of running Anhydrous, I was actually the one that bought it. The Anhydrous applicator, what the heck? 28 applicator, which actually the Anhydrous applicator, which is something I could talk about also, that is actually sold. That got sold last week. And no, Yeah, last week. If it was, days are just flowing so fast. It's just unbelievable. But still, that's sold. We went to a 28 applicator with Y drops. Didn't even consider the colders. Our guys wanted us to go to a Y drop system, so we jumped headfirst into that, and that has worked out tremendous for us this year. Even in a drought year, that worked out great. So that's why the Anhydrous Applicator went up for sale and is sold. And yeah, so that's this year we ran all 28. We did not run any 32 just because we had 28 sitting in the tank, and basically how we had everything figured up with a 6-to-1 and a 2-to-1 ratio of nitrogen to sulfur for side dress. Yes, we were running a 2-to-1 ratio on nitrogen to sulfur in some fields. Some of you guys might think that's a little high. I believe the typical going rate ratio wise for nitrogen to sulfur is anywhere from 8-to-1 to 16-to-1. What guys typically run. For us, it was just all about spoon feeding that sulfur. So on our irrigated ground, we were shooting for 2-to-1. And on our dry land, we were shooting 6-to-1. Yes, we use ammonium nitrate dry fertilizer. But yeah, that is why we do not run anhydrous anymore after this year. Well, this year we quit running anhydrous. We did not leave any checks. I know I've talked about this at least a dozen times. With us running 28 in thiazole and next year 32 and possibly potash with maybe sulfur. I doubt we'll put sulfur back in if we go to running gypsum again. So it's just, I don't know yet on the sulfur side that for side dress, but I don't know. That's just something I honestly don't know yet. That's that's a topic that we'll have to discuss with our guys this fall. Well, not this fall, this winter, really. When we do our winter meeting, and see if that's something that might be beneficial. Maybe we'll do some trials with that. It's all, it all depends, because you can get a tremendous source of sulfur from gypsum. That is the whole reason why we would go to gypsum. Go back to using gypsum. We were using gypsum before, but then we went to try and substitute that and get the costs down, to get our costs down as far as our sulfur source goes, to using ammonium sulfate to try and get our sulfur needs there. So when we were putting down our P and K in the pre-plant, we would spread ammonium sulfate to try and get our sulfur source there. But what we were finding is when they were putting down our P and K, we were not carrying enough sulfur throughout the growing season in order to meet the sulfur demand. So I don't know, middle of summer, we're petering out on sulfur. Well, that's pretty obvious now, with sulfur being so mobile in the soil. And say, I don't know, for the past few years, you get a rain of a nice wet spring. I don't know, there goes your sulfur source. So spoon feeding that sulfur has been an idea of ours. They're also just going back to gypsum and supplying, I don't know, your more than enough need for sulfur all year long. So pH, we're running anywhere between 6.6. Well, average, I would say 6.6. We're running anywhere between 6.4 to 6.8. At least that we're maintaining that. We do not use any urea, no urea whatsoever. So yes, we did start using a Y drop applicator this year. It's a 28 applicator technically, but we just took, instead of putting colders on it or ordering it with colders, We had them order it without colders and put Y drops on it in substitution. So our salesman was pretty leery on having us order it without, colders. He wanted us to go to Y or put colders on it and then order the Y drops as well. Just to have the colders as a backup, just in case if we did not like the Y drops, we can put the colders on. It's just like, you know what? If the Y drops don't work out, we might just go back to anhydrous and or just put colders on and run colder and a knife and knife 28 in instead of Y dropping and or going back to anhydrous. But now that we have seen the benefit to running liquid over anhydrous as far as being able to put multiple products down besides 28, putting down, say, sulfur, considering putting down potash possibly next year for side dress, also putting down micronutrients, which we were doing trials with this year. It's just the benefits are way leaps and bounds well over anhydrous, at least from what we've seen. So, and hopefully we'll see continuing into this fall. No, we only have 6 pivots on our farm, so we do not irrigate our entire farm. Yeah, strip till machines can get up there. RTK guidance, that was the whole reason. Strip till, so we got into we got into auto steer. Actually, it would have been the year we first got the strip till, because the whole reason why we went to auto steer is because we knew with strip tilling you needed to have auto steer. So we actually ran SF1 guidance, SF1 or SF2 back then with strip till. A year later we switched to RTK because we were having issues with the Pliner drift, and went to RTK and took the markers off the Pliner a year later, and have not looked back at putting the markers back on the Pliner, which a lot of you guys have asked that why we don't run the markers or have the markers on the Pliner for a fail-safe if we ever had issues with the auto steer. I can tell you right now, we have never ever had an issue to the point where we wish we would have had the markers still on the Pliner. There's only one dead zone with the RTK. And with the 30-minute time, the timeout period where you get like that 30-minute period, I can't remember the time or how many hours it is with Starfire 6000. But the Starfire 6000 globe, I believe it's a couple hours you get if you lose RTK. You'll maintain RTK if you go through a dead zone. If you go through a dead zone, I believe with the 3000, I believe it's only a half hour or 20 minutes, I believe, 20 or 30 minutes, I believe. So we have literally 1 or 2 rounds in this one field, and it's just that one spot on our entire farm that will get a dead zone in, and we just religiously know, you'll get a timeout period, and it's just like, okay, you got so much time in order to grab signal. Well, when you lose that timeout period, then you'll run over, grab signal. But by the time you have that timeout period up, I mean, basically you're pretty much done doing what you need to do, because it's only a couple rounds there. So that's not an issue whatsoever as far as wishing that we had the markers back on the Pliner. But both our auto steer systems, I bought the second one a couple years ago, and that one I went ahead and did RTK right off the bat. So both of our auto steer systems are RTK. That was our first one we ran SF1 or SF2 on, just because we didn't think we needed RTK until we started planning and realizing with the drift we definitely need RTK. And that's the whole concept of why we have zero issues running a 12-row with a 16-row planter. With RTK, you have zero issues. So running a 12-row head with a 16-row planter. Now, obviously, like I've talked about in the past, a 24-row planter would be really nice to go to, and someday we will go to a 24-row. But yeah, so that's why I went ahead when I went and bought the auto steer system. A couple years ago, I went ahead and got the Starfire 6000 because eventually, within I would say the next couple of years, I would like to switch that 3000 out for a 6000. So, oh, so the signal will continue for 14 days. Okay, so I was mistaken on that. I thought it was only I thought it was just a few hours. So, I love the 6000. I mean, I know a lot of guys have asked me on that, and I mean, I've never had an issue where I've lost signal and noticed that I'm on a timeout period or whatever, the extension. And like I said, I mean, there's only one dead zone that we know of that we found on our farm. So, yeah, I mean, I've zero complaints with the 6000. 6000 is really nice. Really, zero complaints with our 3000. Actually, we got to update which I pretty much everybody does with the ITC globes going away. As far as just auto steer use goes, we use an ITC globe just for AB guidance through a brown box on our sprayer. No auto steer, just brown box AB guidance. So we're still going to continue using it eventually with a sprayer purchase someday. Not this winter, not for next year, sadly. Unless the markets decide to go bananas here and I don't know, give us some really, really good prices, but no. That is definitely not in the cards, especially with carryover coming in. So, eventually, I would like to get another Starfire 6000 set up with 2630 display. But I'm really liking these Gen 4 displays. I was watching on our Harvest Summit, our dealer put the Harvest Summit on digitally, and our first Harvest Summit, and I think this is the third annual one actually. We didn't go to the first one just because we didn't see any benefit to it. We went to the one last year because we got the 690, and we thought, you know what, we got to learn more about this S series. We knew the 50 series inside and out, but you know what, this is a totally different, not necessarily a totally different combine, but there's a lot of new features on here that we don't know about. So let's go to the Harvest Summit, and I would highly recommend going to one from any of your dealers. So. I really enjoyed it. Dad really enjoyed it. And this year, I still got to finish watching some of the videos. But they had a whole segment on AMS tech and talking about the Gen 4s. And I really wish I jumped on the Gen 4 back when I first got my auto steer system that I bought instead of buying the 2630. I don't know. At the same time, when we did that, we went ahead and traded in the 2600 and on our first kit, and I went ahead and got a 2630. So that's why we run two 2630s. So, but the kit, the one I bought stays in the 8530. I just keep it in there because there's no reason to really move it. But the kit on the 4650 that we originally bought back in 07, that moves between that and the combine. So the ATU unit on the 4650, we've got 4650, not a 4850. No issues really. We did have a couple of hiccups here when they did a steering update on it. About 4 years ago, I think we started having a couple issues with it. But otherwise, I mean, we on some of our longer fields, well, actually, you go through the timeout thing on the auto steer. It's kind of funny on that, but it does act a little funky on the timeout thing for the timeout on the auto steer. But otherwise, I mean, it's I don't know. We don't have any complaints really that's bad about it. I mean, I would highly recommend it to anybody. I know they've come out with a newer version of it, I believe, or I don't know if it's necessarily a newer version, but I know they still offer it, and I know they were promoting it pretty heavily here in the last year. So I'm guessing it's a modified version of it. I know it looks the same, but it's probably different components and a little bit better. I don't know, but I would highly recommend it. So. Do you get annoyed on your headlands with a 12 row opening up a field? No. I mean, yeah, certain circumstances, it's kind of like, sucks, but it's just like, you know what? It doesn't really bother us. I mean, once you open up the field, I mean, my God, I mean, you're flying through the field with a 12 row. So, I mean, it's insane the amount of efficiency uh, and overall acres in a day that we can pick up with a 12 row. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, literally, like I discussed earlier, our bottlenecks at this point are drying capacity and our wet storage capacity and our overall storage capacity as far as, our bin site here. I mean, I just wish we had more storage on all aspects in order to keep up with the 12 row. Would you do a 16 row headland with a 24 row pliner? No. I mean, uh, if we would, go to a 16 row head, no, we would not. No. For us, no, we have no interest of going to a 16 row. I mean, 16 rows on a combine. I mean, I would not personally know what to do with all that corn, even if we had uh, an increase of storage capacity here to possibly consider handling it. The problem is, I feel with a 16 row, you need a fleet of semis to follow that thing, and two green cards, in my opinion, just for one combine at that point. But as far as like going to a 24 row planter, I mean, a 24 row planter just makes sense as far as your headlands go. I mean, my God, well, we call them end rows, but as far as your end rows go, I mean, you're talking 48 end rows versus 32, and you can go into 12 on 48 a heck of a lot better than what you can with 16. So I mean that, I don't know. It just, I mean, yeah, you can do 3 rounds with 16. Well, it'd be on a 40. Well, 48 divided by 16. I mean, you're talking 3 passes instead of 4 passes with a 12 row. Yeah, you can say it's more efficient, but like I said, it just, as far as corn goes, you would need a fleet of semis and 2 green cards, in my opinion, with a 16 row head. I mean, there's a lot of corn. Gabe, the new purchase was a 2016 333E skid steer. So how much total grain storage do we currently have? So total is roughly about 70,000, and wet storage slash loadout storage, because both the holding bins act, they're dual purpose. They're wet storage and loadout also. So the north holding bin holds 3,700. The south holding bin holds 3,200. So, and the dryer is a 400 bushel farm fans. 60-foot bin would be really, really nice. 125,000 bushel bin. That would be really nice. Brock, if you're listening, I would love to work with you. So we'll run this stream till 10 o'clock unless the chat ends up dying here. But we'll run this till 10 o'clock. I actually got to dump the card on my drone and also work on getting a flash drive put together. I had to go fly some real estate this afternoon up in Westville for Holderman. So I got that done, and I got to get that mailed out tomorrow morning. So I'm going to get that done, get the drone all ready to go to Wabash tomorrow. And yeah. So 760 TT Klaus. Not too familiar with the Klaus. I'm not entirely sure how that compares to, like, say, a 680 or 670 or 690 from Deere. You got the grain cart. My God, 2,000 bushel avalanche would be awesome. Just need to move more in a 16 row. Right? Push or 12 or just, I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, if you got a 2,000 bushel grain cart, and put it this way, if you got the capacity and if you got the trucks, I mean, I was just more thinking around like a 1,300 bushel grain cart that you would need two of in order to keep up with comfortably. But I mean, if you got a 2,000 bushel grain cart, I mean, no problem there, I would say. As long as you got a good track, enough horsepower on the front of that thing that you can haul butt with. I wouldn't see why that would be necessarily an issue for you guys, Christian, as long as you've got the capacity. I mean, I don't know your operation. I mean, you guys know our operation fairly decent, I guess you can say, as far as what you guys seen in the videos, so, and what I've talked about. So, Jacob, what are you asking there? What do I have tips for? I'm not sure what you're asking. Did your fields get hit by the storm? Are you referring to the derecho? Because yes, we've got damage. I would say about 25 acres worth of damage out of a 60-some acre field. Nothing compared to what you guys see out in Iowa and Illinois and parts of Wisconsin. Prayers to you guys out west. Please wait while we try reconnecting. Thank you, Frontier Internet, for timing out on. There we go. Just went away. It laid pretty much all the drilled, well, not just drilled beans, really all the beans over. Looked like you rolled them. But of them stood right back up, though. You can't even walk hardly through those 30-inch row beans, though. They're all tangled up, and it's a mess. It's worse than walking through drilled beans. So what are my thoughts on the new X9? Talking with our salesman, he was commenting about the fact that, if you got a guy running two S780s or two 680s, that technically capacity wise, you could run, say, an X9 1100 instead of running two 680s or 780s, whatever the guy's running. Doesn't really matter, 6 or 7. I mean, doesn't matter. But $850,000 for a combine. 850 what? It's just like, that's insane. By the time you factor in, 12-row folding corn head, 40-foot hinged flex draper. What was that? Hinged flex? I'm sorry, that sounds like a McDon head. Pretty interesting that John Deere went to McDon's design on a head. Hinged flex design. I don't know. Personally, I really like that idea. It's combining both of best two things into one really good head, I feel. You got the hinge design, which I really like for McDon. The only thing I felt it lacked was the flex sickle, which I feel is really only a necessity in ridged ground or uneven ground, essentially. All of our fields are level. We keep them level. Put it this way, if we have a ridge out there, we're immediately fixing it, or a rut or something like that. Custom work, you can run in the ridges. That's where I feel, your flex sickle from Deere is going to shine better. But I felt that was pretty interesting that John Deere is now offering a hinged flex draper now. That's pretty much a McDon head at that point almost. So not liking the fact that it's all drive shaft and gearbox driven, though. I'd still stick with the McDon at that point. But otherwise, I mean, I guess my 16-row corn head, and it's not even phasing it, and I'm like, Jesus, that's just insane. It's just like, wow. But after seeing, capacity ratings and everything that I can do, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that's crazy. But so, like I said, we will run this till 10 o'clock. And I'm going to hop off. I got to do some stuff to the drone, get that around, update some firmware on it, make sure that thing's ready to go. And yeah, so we might end it sooner, just depending on how long you guys want to keep this going in the chat here. And yeah, so I guess hit me with anything else you guys have that you guys want to talk to, or have me talk about or answer. And if all else, I'll give it like another 10 minutes, I guess, if you guys don't want to keep this thing going. I don't know. It's all up to you guys on how long you guys want to let this thing run. But 10 o'clock's the cutoff date because I got stuff I got to do tonight. Actually, I missed a comment. I remember that. What was that one comment? Because I actually want to talk about that. Oh, man. Maybe he deleted it. I don't know. There was one really good question on here. I can't remember what the guy asked. Oh, man. That was a good one, too. Can't even think of it. I think Deere is just copying Klaus and McDonald for the new combine. Well, essentially, well, I'm surprised he didn't say New Holland in that with the dual rotor concept, but technically, I'm not even going to say it at that point. But I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting, but I don't know. All I can say is $850,000 is just a lot for a combine. I mean, we even said that for, I don't know, a $500,000 or $600,000 combine. Like considering a brand new 780 or 790. I mean, that's just insane. But I guess thank God for guys that buy new equipment, because then there wouldn't be such thing as a used market. And yeah, I don't know. I prefer the used market, put it that way. A lot more affordable, and yes, it depreciates, but hey, you know what? A 3-year-old tractor can depreciate pretty nicely and be a lot more affordable than it was 3 years ago and brand new. So, just my thoughts. Rob, the new equipment was a not brand new, a new to us 2016 333E skid steer. Yeah, New Holland's not really common in our area, Ryan. Kind of Rochester, Argus. I think there's a few more guys that run New Holland. Not really common in our area, though. It's Case and John Deere, really. There's a guy, Napanee area is pretty big in a New Holland, in Kubota. There's a guy up on 6 that runs 2 New Holland combines. I don't know if they're I think they might be Class 8s. Yeah, that was my first thought on the hinge draper, though, when I saw that they pretty much copied McDon on that. I know Case is making their own drapers now instead of having McDon do that. So that's pretty interesting to me that they branched away from McDon. I'm surprised they would do that, but I don't know. what I was kind of shocked about, if you can run a if you can run a 16 row with this thing, that let's just use the X9 1100 for example instead of an X9 1000. So say you got an X9 1100, you're running a 24 row planter, you're running a 16 row corn head at 7-8 mile an hour. Why don't you just run a 24 row corn head at that point? I'm honestly surprised John Deere has not come out with a 24 row corn head. I mean that's 60-foot head sounds insane, but I mean, I don't know, they're running 60-foot honeybees already, but I mean, think about 24 rows of corn coming in. I'm like, Jesus, that's just insane. But I'm honestly surprised they haven't come out with a bigger corn head. I mean, honestly, I'm surprised, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just acting stupid on that 24 row corn head, but who knows? Necessarily yes and no on the hinge draper design of McDon. I mean, technically, it's Deere's version, but technically, who introduced the technology first and why would they be seeking to go that route? As far as, on a hinge design, I mean, there's a reason why I like our McDon over a Deere. Has there been has there been any discussion of upgrading the grain cart? Yes and no. Not really. Sit down. Hey, let's discuss if we're going to be upgrading the grain cart for this fall. The grain cart at this point, yes, it needs to be upgraded. Is it a necessity? Depending on how you look at it. Yes, is it technically considered a bottleneck? In ways, yes. As far as does it get the job done, what needs to be done with it? Yes. So technically, does it need to be upgraded? Yes and no. It all depends on how you look at it. In corn, it would be nice to have a 13 or 1500 bushel grain cart. In beans, it doesn't really matter, in my opinion. So with more acres, say if we're running 2,000 instead of what we're running now, or 2,500 or 3,000, as you increase acres, I feel your overall profit per acre increases slightly. The more acres you achieve, the more acres you acquire, your profit per acre essentially can increase depending on your overall cost of production and what you're actually doing in your operation. But you're able to spread your overall purchases if you're going to be utilizing that piece of equipment across all the acres. You're able to spread that cost across more than, say what we're running now versus 2,000, 2,500, 3,000. So that one, at that point, purchases become easier to swallow. So with more acres, yes, a bigger grain cart would be beneficial, not only because, it removes a bottleneck, and two, it increases efficiency, and, compaction is a thought that we've had with the grain cart with the tires. Tracks would be a definite thing we would go to on a different grain cart. I don't know. I'm really liking the Elmer's Hallmaster, but they're not necessarily in our area yet. Doesn't matter. No, because technically we can go off and buy one, and technically Bain Welker stocks. They don't stock the parts, but they handle the parts, so we can get parts from them. But Kenzie, that would be my second choice for a grain cart on tracks. I've just heard bad things about the what brand? I believe it's the Equalizer track brand. The company that uses the Equalizer tracks, I believe it's Brent. The tracks on that, I've heard bad things about the design on those as far as the seals go. To definitely steer clear of those. What the heck is going on with my phone? That is something I've not seen on my phone. That's weird. I don't know why it popped up like that, Cade. That's really weird. I've never seen a notification like that from Snapchat. But Unvenfirth, yes, that's the brand. I thought, yeah. So I've heard to steer clear of that design just because of some of the maintenance headaches that you could have with that. Depending on how you look at it, I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, this is just what I've heard from guys. So I've heard a lot of great things about the Elmers, and I've heard good things about the Kinseys. We've had great luck with our Kinsey 840. So I don't know. I mean, we've run them both. Ryan, we ran an FD140 last fall and a 2017 640. And in all honesty, I mean, there was nothing that one performed better than the other. I mean, they did a great job. Just when it boils down to it, maintenance we feel is less on the McDon versus Deere as far as everything's drive shaft and gearbox driven on a Deere. So you're going to have more maintenance there compared to the McDon. Weight, you're talking 1,000 pounds difference on weight. The Deere head is 1,000 pounds heavier than the McDon, and belt visibility is just really the only thing the Deere has over the McDon besides the flex sickle. So, I mean, when you factor that all in, our thought is, yeah, they're both good heads, but as far as longevity goes, how long we keep stuff, we would rather stay with the McDon. So, Keith, what are you talking about there? The 60-foot? I was talking about if you might be referring to when I was talking about the honeybee, which I know they run those out in Australia. I don't believe there might be some guys that run them out west, but I don't know. To be honest, I have no clue. But I know there's guys in Australia that run the 60-foot honeybees. Hey, I appreciate it, Samuel. But yeah, going back to a grain cart, I mean, it's really just all about spreading out the cost on it. There's really no dire need to upgrade it. Yeah, it would be nice, but it's not really a dire need to go about upgrading the grain cart when it already does a good job what it's doing. But there are just certain things that you wish, one with capacity and two with weight, as far as weight distribution goes, that you wish you had. But like I said, it's not a dire need. As far as the 690 might have a tough time running a 60-foot head, or just because of how good the beans look, we might have a tough time with the 690 because I've never thought about having issues with the 690 in really, really good beans, because in 300 bushel corn, we had zero issues with the combine. So, yeah, I mean, that's what we were considering running as a 45-foot McDon, but there's just certain areas that we feel a 40-foot would just we could get around with so much easier with a 40 foot than a 45 in certain areas. So that's why when we go to a newer head for the 690, we would go to a 40 instead of a 45. Now I know some of you guys are still going to say you're not meeting its peak efficiency. Well, even running a 12 row, you're not meeting its peak efficiency. So unless you're going to really push the snot out of that combine with a 12 row, you're still not going to meet peak efficiency. So throw a 16 row on it and run, say, 4 or 5 mile an hour. Then you're meeting peak efficiency with it. You know, say you put a 50 foot, 45 foot, or 50 foot head on that thing, then you're talking peak efficiency there. I mean, probably not even peak efficiency as far as, you know, running a 45. You would even probably have to step up to a 50 at that point. I mean, at that point, Thomas, I mean, on a 13 or 1500 bushel grain cart, I mean, when basically at that point, you're literally just pulling a wagon on wheels or tracks, depending on what your preferred system is, tracks or tires. And you literally have as far as a draft load goes, it's just weight. You're not pulling anything in the ground. And at that point, you just need power to ground as far as being able to move that object on top, you know, whether it has tracks or tires on the ground. So, you know, with 330 horse, would I consider putting the 8530 on the front of a 1500 bushel grain cart? No. But with a tune on the ECM, bumping up to 400 horse, I wouldn't have a problem at all putting a 1500 bushel grain cart on an 8530. So, so Ryan, that's exactly, you're so parallel to us almost on that. It's not even funny. I mean, we don't run quite as much wheat as what you do. Probably this year we only had 70 acres of wheat, but we have anywhere between 70 and 150 acres of wheat every year. And with the custom work, we're running about 1,000 acres of beans now every year, probably just a hair over that. This year it will be over that. It'll probably be around 1,200 acres of beans. And that's pretty much been pretty steady for us for the past, well, since we've had it since 11. We bought it used 1 year old. It's a 2010 head, and we got it in 2011. And for the past 9 years, that's basically what we've run. And literally, we've just replaced the sickle 2 years ago, put new poly under it, skid shoes and everything. And as far as a breakdown goes, we had a line, one of the hydraulic lines that's inside the tube. There was a hole worn one, so we actually had a leak on the reel, on one of the lines for the reel. So the reel lift cylinder on the right side was not functioning, and we couldn't figure out why, if it was a cylinder or if it had something to do with the hydraulic line. Turns out it was. So we called up Glasscock, and they said, pull the line out, but put a quick attach adapter on it, get 34.5 foot of hydraulic hose, get these fittings on it, hook it up to the line, pull the line through, hoses through, then hook the hoses up, you're good to go. And that's literally the only thing that we've had to do to that head, besides replace the sickle, and we just ended up putting new poly under it. But really, it did not need new poly whatsoever. But we ended up doing it anyways. So because we figured, you know what, get it done. That way, as long as what we're going to have the head, we will not have to mess with it at that point. So belts are getting a little questionable. Eventually, if we continue to keep it 2 more years, I would consider doing something with the belts. If we're going to keep it more than 2 years, I would consider doing something with the belts. But I don't know. Oh, so you put a new sickle in every other year. See, we run the sickle until we absolutely need to do something with it, and we just change guards as we go, and we hardly ever break a guard, ever. So, um, at least with our McDon. See, on the Crary head, we actually ran a 36-foot Crary head. Now, most of you guys are probably familiar with the Crary wind system. The Crary company actually took a John Deere head, pretty much basically all John Deere components, but branded it as their own Crary, the Crary aerial, and called it their own head. Put an aerial on it, had dual blowers on it, one on each side, and it was an auger head. We ran that after we ran our 25-foot head. We had a 25-foot head we ran on the 8820, ran that in the 9650. Went to a 36-foot Crary head, auger head. That was a crazy heavy head. I think that wasn't quite 10,000. I believe it was 9,600 pounds. We ended up having to put heavy-duty lift cylinders on a 9650 in order to run it. The sheer horsepower that thing took compared to when we demoed a McDon and tried out and bought a McDon, it was just unbelievable, the horsepower difference it takes to drive that auger versus a belt. It's unbelievable. So that's one of the biggest things we saw going to a draper, and also the difference at night when the dew sets in. You don't even know when the dew sets in. I mean, Dad's constantly asking me, "Hey, check the beans," because the dew probably should have set in like 20 minutes ago, and I'm still hauling balls to the walls here. So, yeah, I mean, that's all we do with the guards. I mean, whenever the guards are wore out, that's when we change them. But, yeah, so we've zero issues there. The McDon, as far as maintenance goes, it's simplistic. So it's like little to none and very simple. Yeah, an FD140, we demoed that last year alongside that 2017 640 on the 2016 S680 that our dealer brought out to us. Which the whole 680 thing, they weren't demoing us a combine for us to demo as far as, hey, you guys are interested in a combine. No, I mean, we were just the reason why they wouldn't demo us they couldn't just demo us just the head was because in our single point hookup they would have had to change an adapter in there in order for the 2017 640 to hook up to our combine. So I said, hey, if it won't work on our combine, just bring out a combine. Well, our salesman didn't like that idea until I told him, it's like, hey, McDon's bringing us up a brand new FD140. Originally, it was going to be an FD145, but later that day, they ended up selling the FD145. So that's why we did not demo an FD145. But we were this close to getting an FD145 up. So 10 more minutes, and then we'll go ahead and end the stream. I can't believe how many people are in here. 328 people. I mean, I haven't had that in a live stream probably yet, so that's pretty awesome. Thank you guys for liking the stream. Thank you guys for hanging out in here. So like I said on the videos, video later this week on the skid steer reveal video, or I like to call it the mini tank. Equipment tour video later this week. Regular vlogs coming up again, and harvest, like I said, literally like the title says, 2 weeks. I'd be surprised if it goes longer than that when we're going to start. But yeah. 25-foot McDon. Isn't that what they just came out with? Wait, So Ryan, you bought yours in 2009, and they were selling 25-foot McDons on. I thought they just no, it was a 20-foot McDon, right? They just came out with a 20-foot McDon, or an FD 120, right? That's what they just came out with, because I didn't know they made 25-foot McDons. The lowest they would go. I could be, I'm probably, I mean, obviously I'm mistaken on that because yours is a 2009 head, but would you ever think about a 16-row corn head to match the Pliner? No. Like I said earlier, a 16-row corn head on the is just, we would, like I said, you would need a fleet of semis, and if you do it, 2,000 bushel grain cart, unless you have two 13 or 15. Really necessarily you don't need two 15s, but two 1,300 bushel grain carts, and I would say 5 semis at least. And you would have to have the capacity as far as, your drying, your wet bin, and overall storage. I mean, which we do not have. FD118. Okay, I was gonna say that is awesome. That Chet's demoing and Doug. Well, Duggo, but Chet and Doug are demoing Larson's. I mean, that is awesome. I cannot wait to see that alongside their 790. That's gonna be pretty cool. Yeah, they made a lot of improvements from the 75 to the 140s, or to the one series, I should say, FD1 series. It seems like it's just a lot of minor improvements, but really there's not a lot of improvements that really need to be made as far as major things go. It's just a lot of tweaking, and I feel they hit the nail on the head on this one. We never really ran a seven. We've never really, we've never run a 75, and we never really did look quite hardly enough at the 75s to know the difference. But at the National Farm Machinery Show, what would have been not last year, I think the year before, we sat down with the guy from McDon, which is actually one of the national representatives for McDon as far as sales go, and told him, walk us through the differences between an FD70, a 75, and an FD1. Basically explain to us what basically they've improved from the 70 all the way to the FD1. And it's pretty interesting. I mean, not a lot of improvements majorly between the three heads, but a lot of minor improvements have improved the head overall tremendously. So I talked about this earlier about putting a mower on the front of the skid steer. Yeah, that would be something I would love to do, to be able to do that and take it over to the river and mow over there. There's certain places I do not and we will not take the ditch bank mower in, and that would just, we would be able to get in there with the skid steer a lot better than the 20-foot batwing and the 4630. Now we are also we will be, it's just a matter of when, not if, gonna buy like a 6-foot or 7-foot 3-point mower for the 4020. So yeah, I would highly recommend a McDon, Keith, for your 670. 35 wouldn't be a problem at all on that combine. You could even run a 40 on your 670 without a problem at all. Eli, so you're telling me I should sell beans now at $10? I don't know. With the drought, I'm thinking we should hold out. Oh, it's up 15 cents on overnight? What's corn up? Or at least it better be up. Let me check farm progress here. I'll take it. Up 5. Like I said, oh, we're over 351 right now. Like I said it last week that we'd be over 350. I mean, I know we're just on overnight right now, but hey, if it goes up 7 tomorrow and stays above 350, I mean, I don't know. July futures of next year, we're looking at 381. Wheat for July next year is 564. I'd like to see 580 though. I'm gonna get rich on corn, really. Oh, geez. Yeah, if they bring back ethanol, I don't know. It's just mainly, it's all trading basically 50-50 on weather and trade right now, as far as, what China's buying, which I'm surprised that they're actually finally starting to trade based off of the trade contracts on that. But I don't know. To be honest, I don't know what basis is on beans. I've just been mainly watching the corn basis right now for cash, because we still have corn sitting in the bin yet that we're going to have to move like ASAP here pretty soon. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't go any bigger than a 40 on a 760, but yeah, you can run a 760 or a 40 foot on a 760. Exactly. I mean, it took them 3 years to trade off exports. And the funny thing is, I mean, they're trading based off of, trades that's going to happen, 1, 2, 3 years from now. It's not like they can get a ship in here tomorrow and say, hey, load me up 1.5, this many millions of bushels. I mean, it doesn't happen like that. Ships don't move like that. I mean, I mean, they're all trading off of futures. So it's just like, okay, you got carryover to consider. So obviously, when is this corn market going to peter out here? When carryover catches up, because, like they were saying, it's going to be a record crop. When you factor in Iowa and Illinois and parts of Indiana with the drought and the derecho damage, you're looking at 3 to 4 bushels shaved off of the national yield. So, and known history on the national yield, I mean, it's always lower than the predicted estimate. So let's just say it's 6 bushel after not only the damage is factored in, but also, reality hits, and, it's not as record high as what they were saying, but it's still record. You're talking 380, you're talking 180 national average right now. So you're talking, 174, 172, which I believe last year was what, 167, 166. I mean, I know there's an ethanol plant up in South Bend. We've not taken corn up there for a very long time. Before my time, actually, that was the last time we took corn up there. It's anywhere between an hour and a half to 4 hour wait for corn when you take a load up there, so it's kind of not worth it. But I know their basis was at one time, I believe they were 30 cents over, 40 cents over the one time, which does sweeten the deal a little bit. I believe they were 30 cents at one time. That was like way, way back, like earlier this year. I like woke you guys all up with the markets here, me and Eli. December right now. I'm looking at 2020 is 362. March of next year is 371. Beans are at 965. So I mean, that's just their estimate. I mean, I'm just going off of their, analytical estimate, not USDA's analytical estimate, because they at this point have no idea what is going to get shaved off. But I mean, I'm just going off of, what they're talking about on AgWeb and Farm Progress. So, you factor in. I mean, obviously, it's hard to quantify if it's 10 million, if it's 8 million, if it's 14 million acres that are actually impacted. So you're not going to know that till at least the January production reports. Until those are all factored in, you're not going to see a rally in the market off of actual production until at least January, until those production reports come in, because they have no idea what's out there right now and what guys are going to leave. Put this way, if these irrigated beans work out, Eli, I'm planting more beans and corn. We will have, we'll have more beans and corn under the irrigators next year if these irrigated beans work out. I mean, your cost of production is totally different. It's a lot better than corn if you can swing higher yields. And I mean, I just would like to rotate some of these irrigated fields in the beans, because we need to break up rotation on some of these that have been corn at least 3 years. Haven't looked recently, but that is something we're going to be doing this winter. As far as a spray trailer goes, it's going to be a van trailer again. I wouldn't be surprised if we get it up at Detroit again. They had a good price up there for van trailers, and we're pretty happy with the one we got. I don't know. We'll see, though. Oh, man. Yeah, I would too, because honestly, I mean, if you plant, I mean, it stands to reason to forward price your beans at this point if they hit $10 for 2021 futures, because it's just like, okay, you do a basis contract with Cargill as far as beans go for pro pricing, lock in, hopefully $10 on some contracts. You do a futures contract there, and I mean, I don't know, when you look at possibly record number of bean acres next year due to the way corn prices look, $10 beans next fall sounds really, really good. Yeah, same here, Kentucky. That would be sweet. I mean, I'm banking on 85 bushel beans at, whatever the bean price is at that point, probably 975, hopefully. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, beans I feel are going to hit $10. It's just it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when this fall. And is it going to happen this week? Could it happen 2 weeks from now? I don't know. I mean, they're going to hit $10, but you don't know. I mean, if you know you can make money on it, I mean, at least contract some. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, that's what I want to do. Forward contract some and say, here, have some locked in, because you never know. I mean, even if they go up, say they shoot up to like 1050 next fall, I mean, yeah, you're gonna sit there and kick yourself and say, why did I not why didn't I hold out? But look at it this way. I mean, if beans go south, and guys plant a record number of beans next year, and beans turn around and go south, and you're looking at $9 beans versus $10 beans. I mean, look at your profit margin there. You're making a buck more a bushel on, X amount of acres or X amount of bushel that you contracted. I mean, at that point, you're going to be smiling. I don't know. I mean, it's just going to be the same concept of like with corn. I mean, our carryover on beans is a lot less than what it is on corn, but it's still a significant amount of carryover. I mean, the whole concept on, flooding the market type deal is, you plant a record number of acres of beans, you're going to end up like flat out skewing that whole market. And I don't know, it's just ridiculous to sit and say that, I want to have $8 corn and $15 on beans because, the problem with that is if you look back to, say, 2012 and everything, when that whole stretch in there, when you saw $6, $7, then $8 corn highs, and $15 beans and $16 beans, your input costs skyrocketed. And have they really significantly come down? Now, looking at it this year, input costs are down as far as fertilizer goes, but technically seed is flat. It hasn't really gone up. I mean, yes, it's gone up since 12, but I don't know. 7 Gen, 2016 333 E skid steer. I mean, it all depends, though, what you've got into the beans. I mean, that's why we're banking on 85 bushel beans, just because of what we've got into them. The potash and the whole micro mix that we put out there, that was an expensive cost per acre to be putting out there. But right now, it looks like it's paying off tremendously, especially on the dry land. And if this could be some type of ticket that we could be using on the dry land in order to help reduce stress overall, or kind of help reduce stress as far as keeping the plants healthier with potash, I don't know. I mean, it could be something, but I don't know. I mean, I just look at the fact that, over there on Marx's, we've got drilled 7.5-inch 25 AO4s planted May 3rd. Right across the road, planted May 3rd, 30-inch rows, 25 AO4s. The drilled 25 AO4s are about, I would say, about turned 40%. And you got across the road, planted same day, 30-inch 25 AO4s, turned maybe 5%. I don't know. I mean, like I discussed earlier, Brian, I mean, it possibly could spike it will spike the market. And that's partly what's going on right now, in my opinion. You know, they're trading based off of one, the weather, and two, the China trading. But the thing that's going to catch up to them here is the carryover. There's a significant amount of carryover that is not being utilized. I mean, it's being utilized, but we're still going to have carryover. So it's just a matter of when, not if, when that catches up in the market, when these traders realize we've still got carryover here that's sitting here, that's not going away. I mean, it's dwindling slightly with the trading and exports, but it's not really going to go away, especially with ethanol being like almost non-existent. Well, it's not non-existent, but it's just shut down tremendously. So the chicken taco, yeah, the chicken tacos. I mean, yeah, those were really like them. Dad doesn't really care for Mexican food, really, but yeah, he Jeff and I really liked them. Doesn't surprise me there, Eli. Yeah, I agree. uh, yep, you'll never go broke making a profit. That's true. Beans up 16. I'll take it. Let's see it. EPA loves the oil industry. Yep, and they love oil from overseas. Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's oil. Oil is oil at that point, whether it's overseas or domestic. I mean, it doesn't matter. So they make. The government looks at it this way: they're making more money off the oil than what they can with ethanol, but it just, I don't know. Nathan, it's 2016 333E skid steer. I will have a reveal video on it later this week, towards the end of this week. Here and there, I used to listen to it more about a year ago, but Chip Flory just kind of annoys me a little bit here and there in AgriTalk, but I don't know. I should listen to it more this fall, though, just to kind of listen in on what their kind of thoughts are. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Chip just kind of annoys me on there. I mean, his comments, it's kind of like, oh, I don't know. It just, uh, well, it's because of the market talk. I mean, my God, I mean, we're all talking about the market, so everybody's like, well, hold on here, let's get some market advice. But I mean, it's a shot in the dark. I mean, on who you're getting market advice from. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm onto something. I don't know. Oh, geez. Eli and I just ranting on the markets here. Just chatting back and forth here on, I don't know, futures and you know what the overnight trades are going to be. It's going to be totally different tomorrow morning, Eli. But I don't know. It won't go over 360. Guarantee you it won't. That's what I'm figuring on top out. I mean, I'd be surprised if it goes over 360. Maybe I doubt it, but 365 is, that's what I was thinking. 362 to 365, you're not going over that, because like I said, you got carryover. That's when they're gonna sit and realize it's just like, we can't just shoot this all the way up with carryover. I mean, yeah, I mean, you got trades, you got the weather, but I mean, my God, I mean, you can't do it with the trade, with carryover. I mean, yeah, we'll kill supply as far as production report for this year. I mean, they're going to look at that and say, "Holy cow!" We're going to see significantly amount of less bushels depending on what actually comes in January, what they actually start reporting. But could we see $4 futures? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that we see $4 futures here, which, in my opinion, I'd start locking those up. I mean, my God, I mean, you start looking at $4 futures. I mean, geez, back in December, we were complaining about, not seeing $4 corn. And now, everybody's crying that we can't get 375. Heck, I don't know, 2 weeks, about 2 months ago, we were all wishing that it was at 325. Now we're sitting at 325 and we're all hoping that it goes up to past 350, after basis. This one does not have depth, Nate. Not this one. Exactly. I mean, look at obviously, the yield estimate, Pro Farmer Tours is nothing but, I don't know, a whole bunch of, just a whole anger week as far as, just high blood pressure and everything, what you're going to get out of that, just as far as, everybody's going to be upset based on them cherry picking supposedly as far as yields go. But I mean, you got to face reality here. I mean, there's a lot of good corn out there that can easily, I can't say easily, but it can help substitute what has been lost in Iowa. But as far as, is it going to completely substitute? No, not in, you're going to see a national yield average at least 4 bushel less. 180 bushel, I'm sorry, 97 million acres, that's insane. That is absolutely insane. Everybody's sitting here thinking, 94 million acres. They come out with 97 million acres. Where? Tell me where. What? Did we, add another state? I don't know. It's just what the heck? From the guys I've talked to in Minnesota, I wouldn't be surprised if they have a record year. I wouldn't be surprised. Iowa was on track, at least half of Iowa was on track for a record year. I would say you split Iowa in half, eastern half was on track. Western Iowa, they kind of tapered off there with the drought from what I've heard with guys. Now, obviously, I'm not out there. I'm just hearing this from guys out there. But, yeah, I don't know. And see, in Kentucky, you guys are probably already, you guys are going to be pulling corn here in probably, pretty soon, right? Yeah, I know. We're just going to go on a rant here, Keith, that we're just going to keep going until, I don't know, we just kind of simmer down here. I don't know. I got 570 of you guys in here. I've never had 570 of you guys in here. Typically, it's only about, I don't know, 100, maybe 200. Now we got over 500 people in here. I don't know. It's all because we're talking about the markets right now, but dude, we got beans that are less than 2 weeks out. They're over 40% turned. There's some neighbors' beans right across the road that are at least 85% turned. It's unbelievable. Put it this way. We will see a difference between irrigated and non-irrigated this year as far as where the dry corners are. Holy cow. Put it this way. It is drier than what it was in 12. Typically, okay, to put matters into perspective here, as far as when we typically harvest date. Now, there's a festival in Wanata, local festival called the Scarecrow Fest, and that is last week of September. We typically start right around that weekend, so either the day before, during that weekend, or right after. So literally the last weekend of September is when we start, if not 1st of October. Typically, it's always get the beans done, switch to corn. This year, we're going to be switching back and forth like crazy. It's because the way we see it with the drought, with dryland corn cannibalizing itself and sapping everything it had out of that stalk and putting it into the ear, you got to look at stalk strength at that point, stability. you risk down corn, leaving that stuff stand. Irrigated corn you can let stand, especially with the fungus. I mean, we even put fungicide on it. We put fungicide in literally just about every acre of our corn, except 2 fields. And just because we saw yield potential there. And also we were afraid of tar spot. But I don't know. We're going to be switching back and forth, not only just because of maturity on beans, just due to how they are maturing due to this dry weather, and also just trying to stay ahead of this corn as far as making sure that we don't have any stability issues with its dry weather. So it's going to be I wouldn't be surprised we have a decent fall as far as weather goes. I mean, based on how this La Nina is tracking, we're supposedly supposed to have a really decent fall, but the problem is, with this drought, I mean, you got to watch stability, or standability, I should say, not, well, still, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not a big deal to switch between corn and beans. Not a big deal at all, especially with this combine. On the 9650, 10 to 15 minutes. This combine, 5 minutes. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's just, it's all about planning for us, because there are certain farms that we have to pull off first and move off first, as far as we got to get dried or run it through the dryer, get it all separate, get it all allocated, separate it, and move it off in order for us to have that farm done and meet storage and stuff like that. But with 70,000 bushel of storage and X amount of acres of corn, and it's too hard to tell at this point what we can actually haul into the elevator and what we can as far as what we got to run through the dryer. So, I mean, it just all depends on moisture on the corn, what we're going to be able to move off right away off the field versus have to dry. But the problem is with this drought, moisture is going to be all over the board. Test weight's not going to be great this year. The combine will be ready by Tuesday. As far as mechanical side for us goes, the only thing that we got to have done is the tailing sensor needs to be looked at, and we can't really do nothing with that. We got to have John Deere come out and diagnose that and see what the issue is there, and have them take a look at that. So hopefully later this week we have a D-Tech order, or not D-Tech order, it's just more of a tech order open right now on that. To hopefully, I mean, it's been open for the past couple of weeks, so I don't understand what the deal is, why they haven't come out, and what the deal is on scheduling, really. We did do a deal on the discharge beater. So last year, we ended up snapping now, see, on our 2012, the series, that series had originally, I guess, 2 separate single belts driving off the discharge beater there. So what we were seeing is we ended up snapping, well, we were halfway through beans. We were actually over on some custom work there on 421. We ended up snapping both the belts, and these are just separate belts. Drove off of one, drove the, basically, they drove the discharge beater, and it was 2 separate belts, which we don't understand why it wasn't a double rib belt. We're like, why wouldn't you just run a double rib belt right from the factory? And it just didn't make any sense. So we ended up going over to A&M. Well, it's Castonia's, we still call it A&M. Go over there, pick up the belts. We looked now, because we snapped it again, literally on the last day of harvest. We didn't even know this till I was opening up the side, and I don't know, one of the belts was just hanging there, and we're like, oh, we snapped the discharge beater belt on the last day. We didn't even know that. But so when we go and order the newer belt to see, no, sorry, we actually had the belts because we bought them last December, and we were actually looking at figuring out ways why we keep breaking these things. And our salesman goes like, well, there's a D-Tech thing on there that you can actually shim that idler with a bushing to make sure that belt's running straight. And we're like, well, it's running on the inside, but there's that shaft that the idler rides on. It has a 3-bolt pattern, and all 3 bolts are up on the top side of that shaft. And we're like, why wouldn't it be triangle style with bolts on all 3 sides of that instead of all 3 bolts up at the top? Well, what happens is that they'll actually snap that off, and that whole idler will fall off then. And we're like, really? Why wouldn't they go like redesign that from factory and change that? So what we ended up doing was we went to the newer style shaft bracket, put that on there, and what you have to do is you just drill 1 hole and just put a bolt and a nut in there, and there you go. So we ended up doing that and putting the double rib belt on there. And I mean, obviously we don't know yet, but we're going to have to shim that idler yet because it actually rides on the outside now. So we just got to shim that so it runs right in the middle. But I don't know. But that's what we saw with the discharge beater. That was the only thing that we're seeing on that. But I don't know. That's the only issue. But that's going to be fixed. We got to do a new elevator chain on the rethresher, elevator chain on the clean grain. That's going to need to be replaced next year before wheat. But we're rebuilding, not entirely everything, but we're rebuilding the rethresher elevator there, and rebuild a couple of the bearings on that. And yeah, so I don't know. It's just general wear and tear. I mean, it's nothing really to be afraid of, really. I mean, I don't know. It's got 2,300 hours on it. It's nothing that we're not afraid of because, I mean, my God, I mean, it's not like we're not used to working on stuff. I mean, we ran our 8820 till God knows how many hours. It was well over 4,000. And we ran 9650 up until 4875. We bought that when it only had just either a hair under or hair over 1,000 hours. 4875 engine, 3333 separator. So Labor Day is what we're shooting for. Start maybe the day after. I wouldn't be surprised we're 2 weeks after Labor Day. Would not be surprised. So 112 is the latest we got, and that was actually some of the last corn we planted, which is all right for us staging that corn out. But the problem is, with this drought, it's drying down like crazy. But, the neighbor goes like, oh, you got yours dropping. Yeah, the dry corners, the irrigated stuff's lush and green. And the ears aren't even thinking of dropping, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, as far as maturity range goes on corn, we range anywhere this year between 106. Sorry, we don't have any 506 out. 506 actually isn't available in our area anymore. We had to source some of that for a customer over in Ohio. We don't grow any 574. We grow anywhere between 100 this year, 106 to 112. So this year we got one field of 688, which is basically the replacement for 506, since 506 headed out the door in our area last year. Well, technically this year, but 574 was technically also the replacement, but that seems to only work really good over in Porter County and anywhere but our area, it seems like. 688 is really good. It's not quite, I feel, as good of a replacement as what 506 is, but it's still a really good replacement. 977, I know some of you guys were asking me about that. I'm not a fan of 977. We hardly sell any 977. We did not have good luck with that corn. So that's the nice thing about us selling seed. we understand what works good in our area as far as, since all of our customers have very relatively similar ground type to us. So we understand the agronomics as far as what works and what doesn't work. And we're not going to push something that obviously does not work, because if it's not going to work, why are we going to try selling it? So we understand what works and what doesn't work, and that's what we sell. 825, that's what we got over at the river and some other fields, and that is shining this year. That looks great. We always joke that has baseball bat ears, and it's showing that again this year. All that over at the river is dry land, but with the river, it's technically you can't really say it's irrigated, but with the river, the Kankakee River being next to it, it does help a lot. So, and it's actually showing up pretty well this year, showing how long that corn is actually staying green and not drying up and burning up. But so we got 688. We got one field of 720. I wish we had a lot more 720 out. 720 is looking phenomenal this year. 825, which is so 106, 107, 108. No 109. Like I said, we don't care for 977. There's some 935. I believe that's a new number. I don't think you can get that this year, but I know that's PKP this year. So plot out for plot this year, and if it's not available this year, then it will be next year. 1077, that was a new number last year. Came out sales this year. We put that under irrigation over on shins, and I don't know. It's questionable. I don't know yet on that. Neither does Dad. We're kind of leaning towards to keep it on dry land at this point. I don't know. I'm not very impressed with it. Early on, I was pretty impressed with it, with kernel set, what it had early on silking, but I'm not very impressed with it now on fill. I don't know. I'm not sure on that. I'm very impressed with it on dry land. We might have some of the best dry land corn in some fields that we've ever seen, believe it or not, on drought. Like I said, it's all hit and miss on when the corn was stressed, and depending on when you planted, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Early planting kind of nipped us in the butt there, but early planting could have helped us out quite a bit as far as when the dry weather actually hit and when the rain shut off. So, it's all depends there. We've got 1197 out, both dry land and irrigated. That looks phenomenal as always. And then we've got some 112, which is 1213, side by side with 1077, half and half, over in Stark County that's irrigated. And both of those look good, but I think the 1213 is going to pull through better than 1077. But we'll see. So, but typical, anywhere from 100 to 112. Most guys, it seems like, don't want to run anything over 110. I don't know a lot of guys that go over 110. I think we're one of the, at least what we know of, one of the few, it seems like, that goes over 110. We just personally like to keep the fuller season stuff under irrigation. It just seems, to us, it just seems more common sense to keep more fuller season corn under irrigation. But I don't know. That's just our opinion on it. We like to keep fuller season corn under irrigation. So, I don't know. We've had 825 under irrigation actually last year, and it shined really well. I kind of wish we would have had more 825 out under irrigation this year, but it's always worth experimenting with 1213 and 1077 just to kind of see where those guys fall. So, yeah, so that's corn maturity. Bean maturity anywhere from a 2-3, typically, and I'm just going off of typically what guys run in our area as far as geography goes. Anywhere from a 2-3 to a 3-3, it seems like. 31A22s was a big one for us, pioneers. 31A22s and 27A17s really shine with the Peking. That's basically our number one sellers, 27A17s. This year, what we've got as far as beans go, 25A04s, 27A17s, and 33A24s. And over at the river, because I actually did the split over there, that has 28T40 or 28A42s and 27A17s over there. 27A17s we put on the lighter ground. And the 28A42s, as far as pigment goes on the color, the 28A42s are definitely standing out more as far as the color, the green pigment goes on the color versus 27A17s. They're a lot darker color of a bean than the 27A17s. So, why haven't I? I don't know, because I'm not raising 616 bushel corn. That's why, Eli. I know there are some guys in our area that run a 1.9 full season, like a first crop, full, like a single crop 1.9. They're not planting those after double crop. They actually plant them, they're single crop beans, which is pretty interesting. I'm Podfathers. I've never heard of Podfathers. What the heck is that, Eli? What the heck are you even talking about there? I've never even heard of Podfathers. What's that? I'm gonna have to look into this now if you're actually serious on this. We've never, I don't think, in my recent knowledge, we haven't really gone over 3.3. We do have 34A. What the heck are those? 34A 34A79s in the plot. So, which I don't know. We don't really go over 3.3 to begin with. So we planted 33 or 36T30 or 30. Yeah, it was 36T8 36s over at the river one time, but just grow 250 bushel beans. Yeah. Let me go talk to Kip Colors. 610 people in here. That's crazy. I don't know what the heck happened that we got over my typical 100 to 200 mark, but I don't know if it's the ears of corn on the live stream thumbnail or if all of a sudden when Eli started talking about the markets and we jumped on that, and I don't know, now we're talking about high yield stuff and varieties and maturities that it just shot way up then. But seriously, in all honesty, what the heck is Podfathers? What the heck is that? Is that like a series? Is that a legit show? Because I've never even heard of it. MFP 3.0? I don't know. I have no idea. No idea on that. I mean, I don't know. We're getting CFAP here, but I don't know. Really? I've never. Is that on YouTube or what? Is it by the same guys also, or is it different guys producing it? Because I don't. That's why I kind of quit watching Corn Warriors, because I wasn't really a fan of how they actually pan stuff out, because it's you want to watch the show to learn, not just sit and watch all the action shots. It's just I want to hear what they're actually doing. But I mean, obviously, they're not going to just make a show and disclose every single secret. But what I'm saying is a wheat warrior. I don't know. I mean, we can raise pretty good wheat even on a freeze year. I mean, my God, we raised average this year 75 bushel wheat between the the irrigated and the dry land, which that means the irrigated ran about 100 and the dry land ran about 60, 50 to 60, which I'll take that. So is it going to be on YouTube, or is that going to be like on a online like website or something, or what? Giant ragweed kings, my God, no! We'll take water hemp kings for that. Water hemp on the low ground and bear's tail on the high ground. We're gonna have 100, just over 100 acres of wheat next year, 110. And then the remaining, well, it's actually going to be on the big irrigated field. We're going to plant 25R74 again. So try it again. But hey, I don't know, wheat and double crop beans pays better than what corn does. And it's less bushels to handle in the fall. So even though I do like picking high yield corn, it's just profit margins and stuff like that. It just pays better to put wheat and double crop beans out. So 611 of you guys. Now, if all you guys go on there and click the thumbs up, that would be awesome. Let's shoot this up to like 250 likes. That'd be awesome. I mean, whereabouts are you located, 7 Gen? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it might not be far-fetched. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've grown 125 bushel dry land consistently 2 years in a row. And we actually followed that 1 year with, we gambled on some dry land and we actually cut 60 bushel double crop beans, which we were jumping up and down for because we've never ever had 60 bushel double crop beans. I mean, that probably doesn't, yeah, it doesn't surprise me then. I mean, as long as he's fertilizing for it. I mean, we do split nitrogen applications and do fungicide applications. So we treat our wheat or treat our rye the same way we do our wheat. So, and we only grow rye on about 50 acres, really, what we put out. And we only grow that for cover crop seed. So, dude, if Discovery came out with something like that, like took like the what's it called, the DC heck, it's called the next level thing that Randy and Dave are making. If they like took that and they went to Discovery, Discovery came to them, and they like produced it or went together on it and produced it, that would be awesome show, put it that way. Discovery making a show about this live stream. I mean, I don't understand it, guys. I mean, I don't understand what the heck we started to talk. I must have been the market, so all of a sudden that this thing just shot up to like 615 people. But I don't know. You guys should all give this thing a like, put it that way. See, you guys down in Kentucky, though, you guys have a different growing season than us, though. So that, I mean, that's typical for you guys. You guys can get consistent 50 to 60 double crop beans. I mean, that's impressive in my opinion. I mean, our area, I mean, 60 bushel double crop beans is unheard of. And we've only done it one time. I mean, typically for us, it's 35, 40. Yeah, I mean, technically Gold Rush, but it's a farming show. I mean, that would be pretty awesome. I mean, I love watching Gold Rush. Doesn't matter which Gold Rush show. Yeah, frost up here hurt the wheat crop also. I mean, put it this way. I mean, we just seeing what we on this. If the wheat made 95 to 100 and the dry land made 55 to 60, you know, we were probably gunning for probably a 70 bushel dry land, 75 bushel dry land, and probably 120 bushel irrigated land. I mean, I'm just thinking, the frost shaved 15 to 20 bushel off. We didn't get any corn that froze. We plant, well, basically when we started planting corn was around towards the end of the first week of May, just because. So what happened was when we pulled into the field April 24th and started planting our 33A24s irrigated beans there first, a lot of guys were already planting corn, and we did not want to take the time to switch the meters out to go to corn and start running corn and go back to beans again and then switch back to corn again, and have to keep our starter batches separate because we already had all the starter mixed up and ready to rock and roll. And so we were basically, our thumbs were tied at that point, and we had to wait in order to get our corn starter ready to go. So we had to wait till May 3rd, and conditions were kind of borderline then, as far as the ground was almost just a hair bit too wet to be planting. But we just wanted to get the beans done, got them in same day, drilled and 30-inch, and then we switched to corn May 4th and finished May. And this is including replant. It's like May 12th, 14th, I think. I mean, that's our thought. That's why we're starting to keep it mainly on either the poor blow sand, where it makes more economic sense to put wheat out there than corn, or irrigated ground that we want to rotate in the wheat for 1 year. So rotate out of corn and put in the wheat. And because what I would like to do is, I would like to do, if this actually works out good as far as these 30-inch row beans go, I'd do 2 years corn. So basically, this would be my philosophy on our irrigated ground. I would say 2 years corn, 1 year beans, 30-inch, and rotate that into wheat, and then go back into corn 2 years. Do that rotation. I mean, that would be my philosophy on it. Dry land, corn and beans, and then just on the field. I mean, I don't know. Could be continuous corn on some fields, because we do have one field that we're keeping in continuous corn, and there's an issue with Asiatic garden grubs that we might keep a field a couple of years in the corn and then rotate back into beans for 1 year, and then go back into that corn bean rotation. But now that's actually pretty interesting. The 2 crops of corn. I've only heard a little bit on that. I haven't heard much on what he does to do all that with the 2 crops of corn, but that's actually pretty interesting. Basically, all of our irrigated ground is corn on corn. Like, we have not put beans into the pivot for probably 3 years now. The big irrigated field, the last time it saw beans was probably 5 years ago, I want to say. Yeah, 5 years ago. So there again, you guys are probably going to say, well, you guys are going to see a yield increase because, you guys haven't had beans on that for that many years. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know, if you take a field that hasn't had corn or hasn't had beans on it for 10 years and has just been continuous corn, you're going to see a yield bump. You're going to cut 85 bushel beans. But I don't know. I mean, that's kind of my philosophy on the whole 30-inch beans, to make beans swing better under the pivots. I'd think 2 years corn, 1 year beans, and then rotate that into wheat, because corn following wheat, we see a really good yield response from. Yeah, we might end up running this till, I don't know, Lord only knows when, Keith. Um, Yeah, it's pretty interesting, Ryan. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. 80-day corn, then plants right behind the cow. Wow. Anti-farmer. Oh my goodness. No, I can't. I can't be like making a channel like that because then that, yeah. I don't know. It'd have to be like something unique or something that's going to attract like the public eye also, because it can't just be a farm show that's only going to attract farmers. I mean, yeah, it's a high yield show, but I don't know. See, that's the thing. I've only heard rumors because I talked to David Hula's neighbor actually on Snapchat, and he's been telling me some of, not his secrets, but some of the stuff he's been experimenting with, and foliar wise. So not really disclosing everything he's doing, but just giving me kind of hints. It's like, okay, he's doing some of this. Maybe consider looking at some of this, and uh, so I mean that's kind of interesting on the double crop corn because that's what they were kind of mentioning, and I didn't really think that that could work, but he's making it work. So see that I just want to get beans rotated in there just because I know if you can make beans profitable under irrigation, I just feel that would be a really nice way to break up that cycle there, break up that rotation. Um, I don't know. I mean, that's just my thought, but I don't know. Who knows what these beans are going to yield if they yield 85? I mean, I would still consider putting them out. So, yeah, I know a lot of guys actually pull corn at like 26 to 28%. I mean, that's what we're seeing here, 7 Gen, as far as babying goes, as far as spoon feeding. We need to be like spoon feeding this crop as soon as it comes out of the ground, and understanding crop needs and uptake charts, and understanding when it's uptaking certain nutrients at peak amount of times, and understanding, okay, you understand at V4 to V8, well, should shave that off a little bit. V4 to V6 rows around are set. It's just a matter of understanding kernel length set, and also understanding, kind of ironing that down, and understanding, potash uptake, when you need to necessarily be looking at doing potash versus nitrogen, um, and also understanding doing boron applications. Because the problem is you can become too toxic with boron, so you got to be very careful with boron. But I don't know. Yeah, that's why we've never, that's why we're down to that 18 to 20% mark. We like to pull corn at that just to keep our costs down for drying. But natural gas helps out a lot. I mean, we're not on propane no more, so we've been on natural gas for hmm, 6 years, I want to say, I think, at least. Gas as well? No, we typically no, not in our area really. I mean, we haven't really seen much gas as well, really. Uh, Not this year, not really ever really. You'll see some, but not really. to a really big extreme. Real, I mean, none of us, we've never really seen it on ours. Um, See, we were pulling some at 18%. I mean, towards the end. Um, some of the early stuff, I mean, we jumped into some 1197 that was part of it was planted a week later, and I think that's why we got into some that was like 24%. But exactly, I mean, that's our whole philosophy on that, Ryan, is the butt shelling. But some people argue that, but that's what we believe. We're right. We think a lot alike, Ryan. Put it that way. Golden Harvest, never heard of her. No, I'm just kidding. Golden Harvest, there's not a lot in our area to begin with, and I don't know. I not really much to say of Golden Harvest, really. Yeah, there was a lot of corn. I mean, we didn't have any corn that was like that Kentucky, but we knew of some corn in the area that did not black layer or did not get the potential really or to hit black layer when they pulled it. So I mean, it would have taken longer and a lot more GDUs in order for it to hit black layer at that point. So we'll run this for another 10 minutes, and we'll go ahead and close the stream down. I still can't believe that there's 632 of you guys in here. Now, if you guys would all give it a like, I would really appreciate it. But yeah, we've been Pioneer sales reps for 30. This would be year 33 going into, and what did we do before that? What did we plant before that? It was some region seed company. We sold some beans. We actually were seed sales. Well, we weren't really a sales rep, but we sold beans for a region company also. I can't remember the name of it. Honest to God, I can't remember the name of it. Truckers that hauls for them, and I'm like, geez, 32%. It's like, whoa. I just can't remember the name of that bean company. It was a regional sale or a regional seed company. We planted a little bit of Pioneer before we were sales reps also. As to what percent wise, we just can't remember as far as how far, that was like 33 years ago, but we planted Pioneer along with another company. It was a regional seed company that we planted against, or planted alongside with Pioneer. So, yeah, I'll catch you on Instagram, Eli. Let me know. Well, you'll probably be messaging me more in the morning. You'll probably be, I don't know, waking up here in probably 3 hours checking the overnight. So, yeah, let me know in the morning what you think of the markets. Chanel. That's what we joke. I don't know. People joke right back and say, I don't know, we're the pretzel seed company. I've even checked my phone for the past hour, dude. I haven't even been on Instagram. The only thing I've checked is like my Snapchat. Oh, I just got a YOLO. Speaking of that, of the YOLO I just got, if any of you guys are interested, I know there's just under 600 of you guys in here now, like 579 it shows. If any of you guys are interested in hiring me to do drone footage, I'm willing to travel to an extent. Let me know. This harvest this fall, it's all going to be dependent on how things are going for us. So if you guys are interested, if you guys follow me on Snapchat, you guys can add me right there. And if you guys do not follow me on Instagram, there you guys go. So Snapchat and Instagram is there if you guys want to get a hold of me for that. Yeah, so DJI Mavic 2 Pro and DJI Fam 4 Pro is what I run. Licensed UAV pilot, been licensed for quite a few years now. So, man. So, yeah, so if any of you guys are interested in that, you guys can contact me and you can consider hiring me to do some drone footage. Minnesota, I would love to, but yeah, that's just a little too far. I would go into Illinois. I would go into Michigan. I would go into Ohio. I would go. Kentucky might be a little far. Just depending. Well, I'll put it this way: if you guys are willing to pay, but I would consider going to Minnesota if the pay would be there. But yeah, no. So if you guys are interested, you guys can contact me through there. My email is actually listed down below, I believe, in the description, so you guys can contact me on there. That just kind of blanked out on me there, but yeah, you guys can contact me if you guys are interested. We'll go ahead and wind this stream down. I can't believe there's over 500 of you guys in here. Like I said, that I've never had over 200 of you guys in a stream before, but hopefully next Sunday night, what do you guys think? Give it a thumbs up if you guys want to see another live stream next Sunday, and we can basically leave off right where we left off, or getting tired. Leave off right where we're leaving off now, and leave off right where we're leaving off now. Continue on where we're leaving off now. Like I said, I'm getting tired, guys. Tomorrow, I got to go to Wabash. Tuesday, I'm going up to Alamo, Michigan. Tomato harvest footage tomorrow. Potato harvest footage Tuesday. So looking at a video probably Friday. And then videos are going to hit pretty hard then going on after that, because things are just going to go balls to the walls here with getting stuff around more here and getting corn hauled out. And yeah, so harvest is less than 2 weeks away. So well, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close the stream here. Like I said, I really appreciate every single one of you guys watching. We're approaching, well, how about this? We're approaching the 3-hour mark. We've got less than 10 minutes to go. We'll go to the 3-hour mark. I know I said 10 o'clock about an hour and 6 minutes ago. We'll go to the 3-hour mark and we'll call it quits then. So we'll shoot for 3 hours and shut down then. And we'll do another live stream next Sunday at 8 o'clock and go from there. Like I said, video Friday, equipment tour video. Might do one Saturday for you guys. If not, we'll shoot for one Monday and possibly Tuesday or Wednesday then of next week, depending on basically how I'm doing on videos, if I'm going to be cranking out videos. But yeah, so give it a thumbs up if you guys enjoyed the stream, and if you guys want to see another live stream. If you guys are interested, I know I don't really talk about this too much, but if you guys are interested in a Werner Farms t-shirt or sweatshirt, I believe the link for the website is down below, and you guys can order your merchandise from there. Hats koozies and other merchandise items will probably be available maybe later this winter. Just all depends on what I decide I'm going to do with that. And yeah, so holy cow, that's cool, Ryan. That would be pretty cool to get some filming done of silage. I mean, that I've always wanted to do silage filming. I think there's a dairy over in Plymouth. I know he didn't really message me, but he did a YOLO, and I don't know would contact me and hire me to do silage footage. Um, but I don't know. Maybe there's somebody else that would want to hire me, and I'd be more than happy to do silage footage. But like I said, I would be open to go to Illinois, Michigan, anywhere in Indiana for the most part, um, and Ohio, and yeah. So no, I can't wait to do the potato harvest footage. That's going to be pretty cool to do, and yeah. 20, yeah, a guy, actually, a kid that went to high school with me that's a year younger than me. He works for a farm down, what's the name of the town? It's kind of down by Terre Haute area. They, no, not really down by Terre Haute. It's kind of, I want to say it's Dover. No, not Dover, Indiana. It's, they were running what they're running though, how many acres or what choppers or what, but it's a pretty large operation from what I've heard. Uh, what is the name of that town? I can't find it. I thought it would show up on my search history here, and it's not. Okay, I'm just going through Google Maps here, and I just found out there's a town in Indiana called Egypt, Indiana. Did not know that. Yeah, I can't find it. I'll have to talk to him later and find out where exactly they're located. But they're going to hire me to do some manure application footage, just drone footage, no GoPro, but that'll be pretty cool. I don't know as far as how they're applicating. To be honest, I don't know if it's a slurry tanks or if they got like a hose and winding all the way across the field or what. But yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool, Ryan. So about 5 more minutes and we hit the 3 hour mark, and I'll go ahead and shut this thing down. If you guys got any more quick questions here you guys want to hit me with before I go ahead and shut this down and before we pick this back up again on next Sunday, let's go ahead and hear those and hammer those out real quick. But what was I going to say? We're probably going to, as far as demos go, I know the Oxbow never really happened, and I never really touched on that. The Oxbow demo never really panned out for some reason. No clue what the heck happened with that. The guys were all interested in it, and all of a sudden, nothing. So I have no clue what the heck happened there. The New Holland demo, I have no clue really what happened with the sprayer there. The skid steer, I was actually looking at wanting to demo one, but now since I decided to buy the skid steer, there's really no reason to look at demoing a New Holland at this point. But I mean, if they want to bring one out, I mean, I'd be more than interested in looking at one. But at this point, I'm not looking at buying one, buying a New Holland at this point because I just bought this John Deere. So, but it could be something to consider in the future, though. But really, there's no rhyme or reason to be considering getting rid of this John Deere 333E when I just purchased it. So, yeah, so I don't know what the deal is with that. There is talks of a Gearinghoff. A guy was messaging me last week on talking about possibly demoing a 12-row folding Gearinghoff rotodisc head. So that is a possibility. I don't know how that's going to pan out yet, but it's a possibility. I would love to demo a different grain cart. I know a few of you guys were asking about a different grain cart. And hey, I'd be up for demoing a different grain cart, but I'm not looking at buying anything. But hey, I don't know. It seems like all these other guys seem to get a good demo, and I don't know, just get to use it and not have to worry about buying something. But not going to happen with our John Deere dealer. Our John Deere dealer expects us to buy something brand new, it seems like, which that it just not a lot of guys are able to swing that, but there's a select few guys that can, and we're not in that select group. So oh man. So well, less than 2 minutes and 3-hour mark, and we'll go ahead and quit this. And 8 o'clock next Sunday, we'll go ahead and do a stream. Look forward to a video Friday, possibly Saturday, definitely Monday more than likely, and Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. As far as videos go of this fall, I'll try and hammer out a video as fast as I can, like I did last season, as far as videos go for harvest. At one point last fall, I was actually hammering out a video almost every single day. That probably won't happen, but I probably will have a video just about every single day of harvest, but they're probably not going to be released back to back to back to back. So it probably won't just, it'll probably span out a little bit. So we might have some harvest videos in December, even though we're going to be hopefully done by then. And how early harvest is looking to be, we should be done hopefully mid-November. That's if everything goes smooth. So tracks or tires on that Kentucky on the 1105. Big singles, yeah, probably 1250s, I'm guessing, or LSWs. Because I know a lot of grain carts are now going to LSWs, which I think, like, I don't know, 1400 metrics. My God, those would be sweet on the 690. I saw the 1400s on the Fen Ideal down at the National Farm Machinery Show. That thing looked mean with some LSWs on it. And I'm like, man, I just wish we could put some LSWs that were Firestone, not Goodyear. If Firestone would come out with LSWs, I'd put LSWs on that 690, and that would look sweet. That would look really mean. Now that would be pretty cool. Klaus 980, that would be pretty cool. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and end it here, guys. Be sure to give this stream a like on the way out. Try and bump this up to 200 likes. That would be awesome. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. If a lot of you guys subscribe, that would be awesome. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of new content coming here very shortly. 900 horse. Holy cow. So yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe down below. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat. Links for those should be in the description. Otherwise, I did post them here in the live chat. for the Snapchat and the Instagram, not the Facebook, but I believe that should be linked down below. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to give this a like. Don't forget to give this stream a like on the way out. And I will catch you guys in the next video Friday, and the stream 8 o'clock Sunday, next Sunday. So see you guys then. Thanks for watching.